Okay, folks, I've been really excited to make this video. This is my SPFBO 9 list for 2023 going into 2024. Hey everyone, welcome back to the next chapter. My name is Christopher Navo and I'm going to be your host. If this is your first time joining, thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the content. Today's video is going to cover my SPFBO 9 reading plans starting now going into next year. For those who don't know, SPFBO 9 is the 9th annual self-published fantasy blog off, and this is hosted by Mark Lawrence, famous fantasy author, known for the Broken Empire series, the Book of the Ancestor. Most recently, he just started working on a new trilogy called the Library Trilogy, starting with the book that wouldn't burn. So this is sort of his show of support to the self-publishing industry. So there is a total of 300 entries into this blog off. Then there's 10 separate individual groups of judges. Now, some of these judges have their own little subgroup of like maybe 5 people. Some are only a judge of 1, but there's 10 separate groups. So those books are split into 30 books each, allocated to each of those judges. By October 31st, after those books have been reviewed and read, one finalist will be picked from each of those judge groups. From that, those books will be all read by the other judges, the ones that each one that was picked from the other groups, and then a final sort of winner based on the best average score will be picked by April of next year. So needless to say, I have a lot of time to kind of compile up my own list. I will not obviously be hitting up 300 books. I made my list of about 20 books that I have. And that's just so far. All of these books sounded really interesting. A lot of these books I already had on my shelf, just waiting to be added to my TBR at some point, or were provided to me by the author themselves. I can tell you right off the bat that there are a lot of great books on this list that I did not even add on my list here. I will have links to where you can locate all of the entries. I know Zach Argyle, he's another self-published author. He has a great website. You can check out all 300 entries and who is judging those books as well. But this is going to be my list. So I got 20 to go over here. I am not going to go into a lot of depth on these books. I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a brief thing about what they are, just maybe to pique your interest. But I encourage you to take a look on these websites for yourself to see what might interest you. So let's get started. So these books are in no particular order. I actually read a couple of these books on my 20 list here, and I am including them because they are part of the SPFBO 9 contest. The first one we're going to talk about here is The Price of Power by Michel. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name right, Michael. Prince Borodin could not hold back the darkness, not even in himself. He laid an innocent city in its grave and then died a hero. In his absence, war whispers across the land. Destiny stalks 3 to the blink of oblivion. A dead prince that isn't actually dead. An orphan whose hero's blood is forced to make a harrowing choice. And a powerful seer. If any of them fails to pay the price, the cost will be the world's complete annihilation. Next book I have on my list is Seekers, Winds of Change by Troy Knowlton. We follow 2 young seekers of the Argan Empire called Tyrus and Orin. Each is given a mission to avoid a potential war. On their journey, they face hostile forces, monsters, and other dangers, but they also find friendship, romance, and guidance along their perilous journey. Next up, we have a book by somebody I'm kind of getting to know. They're very prominent on the Keymark Discord, and that is A.R. Witham and his book, The Legend of Blackjack. Jack Swift can remember anything, even the horrible things he'd like to forget. To keep his guilt-ridden memories from haunting him and to dodge his abusive foster mom, he buries himself in any book he can find, dreaming of his ultimate escape, becoming a doctor. But fate has another escape in mind. Next up, we have another booktuber who is also a writer, and this book is Phased, and that's by Victoria Tecken, or as most of you may know her as, Tori from Tori Talks. Please go check out her channel. According to the Department of Domestication and Assimilation, Val and Lila Blackwood are the most dangerous kind of werewolves. Although they were raised in the wild, their true blood heritage has made them little more than experiments for years. Now their freedom depends on their ability to become as human as possible. Fifth up here we have The Crew by Sadir S. Samir. I picked up this book because the premise just sounded really amazing. And another reason why I'm a little partial to this, because Sadir is actually the name of one of my main characters in my own fantasy book I'm writing. Varkade fled to the deserts of Hera to escape his past as an educator, a member of an order of zealot warrior monks that aims to shape the world according to their sacred teachings by force. Varkade makes his living as a reckless sword for hire, caring only about himself, until his self-centered lifestyle is turned on its head when he is contracted to recruit a misfit team of unruly assassins and take out the mighty Bone Lord of Akrab. So next up, we have Becoming a Druid by Mike Mollman. I've actually talked about this book twice already. I have mentioned it during my book haul when the author provided me a copy of this book, as well as his two sequels to this, as well as last video, which talks about a buddy read that I'm going to be doing this in July. Graham has wanted to become a druid for as long as he could remember. Talented but headstrong, he runs afoul of a despotic, mind-controlling mage during his initiation quest. Intrigue and disgust has turned the druids against him. Haggard and hunted, he must make impossible sacrifices or lose everything. Next up, we have An Ocean of Others by Joshua Scott Edwards. I got to actually chat a little bit with Josh on Steve Talks Books. He had a page-chewing live stream, and Josh and I were co-guests on this show. So stands to reason I had to pick up his book after getting to chat with him and learning a little bit about his writing process. Survival is never easy, but it's never been harder for Grim, the last bounty hunter in Leokin. He survived the great riot that has killed Liao by the thousands and endured the bloody chaos that ruled the city in its aftermath, and avoided the crushing fist of the agency created to quell the unrest. Rule of the law has returned, but following the rules doesn't always put food in your belly. Grim becomes a finger of this agency, joining a sardonic ranger, two fugitive siblings, a stone-skinned Scardorf, and a powerful dark mage, none of whom know any better than Grim what they've gotten themselves into. Next up, we have Salt in the Wound by Benjamin Aeveryn. Our world is lost to time, but our myths remain. Rainwights tore down civilization centuries ago. It is no longer safe to wander in storms. Humanity survives in sheltered cities and canvas-covered towns. Travel between these patches of limited safety areas rare and dangerous. In this world, rain was a symbol of hope and harvest. Now it brings only death. Next is Deathless Beast by Andrew D. Meredith, Volume 1 of the Calatian Saga. Fate intertwine, Pantheon calls, darkness grows. While life stirs within the seed, while the path to deeper faith beckons, while there is coin to be made upon the road, darkness moves. A winged, deathless wrath, invisible to the gods. All would-be heroes must give their lives or be made illustration for those who have still to come and try to fall or rise above their station. At number 10, we have No Heart for a Thief by James Lloyd Dulin. Now, I actually talked about this book in my May TBR video, linked above. If you might be aware, May was not the best reading month for me, so a lot of books carried into June, and that does include this one. So this is going to be one of my confirmed June reads, so I will be hitting this very soon as I wrap up a couple of other books. So really happy to see this book on the list because it does sound very interesting. We are the stories we tell ourselves, even the lies. The thief, a great spirit, and her descendants have abused their ability to steal magic for centuries. When Kalo starts to hear the song of other people's magic, he must learn to hide from his people as well as the invaders. A gift or a curse, Kalo must be able to save his people from the Gausht Empire that claimed their land with this stolen magic. Next up, we have Seeds of War, Book 1 of the Smokesmith series by João Silva. Now, I have already read this book back in April. I was given a EPUB arc to it by the author, and I really enjoyed the book. You can check out my April wrap-up video where I talk a little bit about that book. I include it on my list because it is part of the SPFBO 9 contest. Seeds of War is a character-driven story where we follow three main POVs. Gilmore, a single mother and war veteran turned crime boss. Oberesis, a petty thief pretending to be God. And Rednow, a seasoned, well-fielded mercenary. The Smokesmiths is a gritty, epic fantasy series with a harsh world of smoke magic, alien creatures, and ancient secrets where characters do their best to come out on top, for peace will not last. So next up we have Sewell, From Gold to Iron and Rust by Jacqui Davis and Katy Grierson. The first thing that drew me was the cover, and after doing a little exploration on the website, I just determined this is a really cool sounding book. So yeah, I definitely had to add this one to my list. A king destined to rule, a priest determined to protect his land, a demon out to create chaos, a princess with her eyes on the throne. What Sewell really is a lot of lore. What is now a fantasy world with decades of history and world building. Much like history, it kept growing, the cast kept expanding, new civilizations popped up and disappeared. Next up we have The Return of the Knights by Gregory Kontaxis. This was actually provided to me by the author himself, so thank you very much, Gregory. The Palace of the Dawn will soon be stormed. The most ruthless man of all time is one step away from assailing on the Love Bridge and dethroning Sophie Delamere. The Queen of Nightdorn is now alone, with neither allies nor an army capable of rebuffing the enemy, which is approaching her city. Everything appears to be over until a mysterious young man, Elliot, makes his appearance. Game of Thrones meets Greek mythology in this explosive, epic fantasy story, packed with war, medieval lore, magic, loyalty, and bravery. The first book in a series, The Dance of Light, will take you on an epic journey to a fantasy world of men and mythical creatures, which will keep you spellbound to the very end. So next up is a book I'm kind of going in a little bit blind. I have seen it pop up a few times around the BookTube circle, and that is Palmer Pickering's Heliotrope. Telio is a retired soldier descended from mages who were cast out of power generations ago. After years of war, he just wants to live a quiet life on his farm and work his stonemason's craft. He lost his wife and daughter during the war, and his son was kidnapped, and Telio has been unsuccessful in finding him since. At the local castle, while there, he finds himself in the middle of a coup, launching him on a journey of discovering the secrets of the ancient ways and reclaim the magic of the mages. Next up, we have Through Dreams So Dark by Angela Boord. Angela, like Joshua Scott Edwards, I got to chat with her a little bit as well on the page chewing episode with Steve from Steve Talks Books. She was another co-guest on the show, so between the three of us, we definitely got to chat a lot about the writing process. So, like Joshua, it stands to reason that I have to read her book as well. Through Dreams So Dark is described as a Stranger Things meets epic portal fantasy, coming in at around 892 pages. Set in a world of ever-shifting conspiracy and quantum magic, where reality itself can't be trusted, and family isn't just about who you are related to. Yet still, Sergei is determined to put back his broken family together, no matter the danger. Next up, we have the 11th Cycle, Book 1 of the Mistland series by Kian Ardalan. It has been 1,000 years since the last seed abandoned their duty. The mists are closing in. Finally, the morning bell tolls. A new seed is born, but is it too late? The rot eats away at mortals. The witnesses pray so they could not turn into one of the forgotten, and the constricting mists infect the lands with fear. The story follows multiple POVs. A farmer girl with only love in her eyes, a warrior born to the life of a refugee, a highborn stuck between the realm of gods and men, and a woman running from the front lines and away from home. So next up is an author I have read from before, and I've actually seen him a couple times at our local convention up here, Emerald City Comic Con. He has written a fantasy book and a science fiction book so far, all set in the same world. This includes his third book, and that is The Fear of Moncroix by Bryan Asher. A horror fantasy novel set in the same world of the Intercontinents as Asher's other books, but still a standalone novel. All the Waylords have fallen, and the last survival, Davian, now lives as a double agent in the vampiric court. A mysterious swordsman, in the meantime, is seeking anyone related to the Waylords, leading Davian to seek him out, which may lead either to his freedom or demise. Okay, folks, at number 18, we have Sealed Empire by Nobert Zevitz. Sir Edward, an experienced sailor, embarks on a daring expedition. His mission is to try to earn the blessing of the Reverend Sven, who is none other than his love's father. On his journey, beset by fierce storms, he and his men encounter something that could shake to the core not only their faith, but their very concept of the world as well. Meanwhile, far from the oceans, his love Emma is trying to disentangle herself from the spider's web of intrigue and scheming into which she is being drawn even deeper by Eric, the new king. And then next up we have The Sword of Mercy and Wrath by N.C. Kousis. This is book 1 of the Swords of Dorminion series. And this was provided to me by the author, so thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to reading this. In a cathedral at the south of the Asterian Empire, young men and women are trained to be killers. The Order of the Golden Swords Inquisitors are feared for their brutality, masked as piety. Masters of blade, poison, and crossbow, their quarry is the god-cursed werewolf, whom they hunt with impurity to herald the return of their god. And finally, this last book, maybe it's a cop-out because I've already read it, but Pawn's Gambit by Rob J. Hayes, book 2 of the Mortal Techniques series. As I mentioned, I already read this. This was also part of my April, so if you want to watch my April wrap-up video for that and Seeds of War, feel free to do so. Again, I'm so happy to see this has been entered into SPFBO 9, and looking forward to see how well it does in the contest. Once a century, the god holds a contest to determine who will rule from the Jade Throne. Each god chooses a mortal champion, and the fate of heaven and earth depends on the winner. Once a world-renowned strategist and general, Yu made one wrong move, and the Steel Prince paid for her mistake with his life. Now on the run, she relies on her wits to evade loyal bounty hunters. But what if there is a way to bring back her dead prince? On a playing board, field of heroes, warriors, assassins, and thieves, can you survive long enough to even learn the rules of the game, let alone master it? So these are the 20 books that I want to tackle from the SPFBO 9 contest. If I can read more, I will definitely keep you guys updated. I do want to make a point here that this pile of reads is by no means going to take away from the self-published books that are not currently entered in this contest. I do still have a plan for those as well, but I can space these out enough to make sure it's doable. So let me know if any of these 20 interest you. If you are aware of the SPFBO contest, which books of the 300 are you most interested in? Let me know in the comments. My name is Christopher Navo. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I hope to see you in the next chapter. Take care. Next up, I have Book 1 of the Calatian Saga. So this book, this book, this book. Anyway, so the Spitbowl, Spiffbowl, Spitbowl,